Okay, we got Mothra in the background. It's time to talk about a Godzilla movie. So, over the course of the past 3 days, maybe 4 days, Clay and I watched Godzilla versus Spacegodzilla. Because we were not able to watch it all in one sitting. The first time we tried watching it, we got about half an hour in, and I was just falling asleep. This is not the first time this has happened during a Godzilla movie. I remember specifically watching Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. I was also falling asleep in the first 15 minutes or so. It's not necessarily indicative, indicative, that's not how I pronounce that, indicative of the quality of the film, because versus KG is an amazing movie. It's, would I put it in my top 5? No, but I think it is certainly in my top 10 Godzilla movies. Okay, sorry, now I'm okay, if I were to actually go through, there's a chance it wouldn't be, but it's a strong contender to be a top 10 Godzilla movie. I loved it. I thought it was great. I was just really, really tired. I believe the next day, we tried watching it again, and I was falling asleep again. And part of that was also because I had been feeling really, really tired. I was under a lot of stress, a lot of exhaustion. But I also realized I'm not super getting into this one. And right now, I'm watching a monster fight between Godzilla and Spacegodzilla, while Baby Godzilla, or Godzilla Jr., is... There's this really funny bit where he's, holding on to Godzilla, and then Godzilla's, trying to push him off so he can have an actual fight. And this is, a fun scene, and I could not keep my eyes open. It's okay, I understand I'm tired, but that's not a good sign. And then yesterday, we watched the last half hour, so the movie is in the books. I keep talking about how goated the Heisei era has been. I'm man, I had to come around on Return of Godzilla, because I wasn't crazy about, the middle third, but I do still like the movie. Biollante, I think, is an all-timer. Versus KG is amazing. Versus Mecha Goji is super fun. Versus Mothra... Actually, I think Mothra's for Mecha Goji. Excuse me. That's Mothra... It's not my favorite. I think it's a bit slow. But when stuff is happening, it's weird seeing Mothra destroying shit, but I'm all for it. I like this movie. This is the first Heisei era film where I can definitively say I didn't like it. This is the first, to me, bad Heisei film. And there's only one other Heisei film, and from my understanding, it's more or less everyone's favorite from the era. So I'm assuming Spacegodzilla is going to be the only one in the Heisei era that I don't like. It's kind of hard to articulate why, because I was sleeping for, trying to stay awake for a lot of the movie, and I don't think that's entirely the movie's fault. But it also wasn't really keeping my attention. And I think there's just way too much happening in this movie. And I feel like there's a lot of interesting ideas, but they just kind of happen and then disappear. I think one of the best examples of this is there's a scene where Mothra is in space, just flying, and then these little Mothra particles are just kind of spreading, and I'm okay, where's this going? What are we doing with this? And then kind of nothing. We get a Mothra particle later that I think turns into the cosmos that talks to Miki and says something along the lines of, hey, killing Godzilla is bad because you're going to need him to fight Spacegodzilla. And then later it's congratulations, you stopped Spacegodzilla. And that's pretty much all Mothra does in the movie. And just that scene of Mothra in space was so weird and out of nowhere. And it still doesn't feel like it really contributes much. I don't really know why it was there. I guess that's supposed to be Mothra releasing the the G-cells in space. But even earlier in the film, when they talk about why Spacegodzilla exists, and we'll get to that, they specifically show Mothra in the last movie, like when she came out of her larva, or like the silk cocoon, and Biollante. Like, well, it was one of these two that did it, so I don't know if that was supposed to be confirming it was Mothra and this is when it happened, or like, no, it was one of those two, we don't know. Also, here's some weird shit going on with Mothra. And I don't know if it's also a scene that would make more sense if I'd watched the Rebirth trilogy. I also don't know when the Rebirth trilogy... I know it's part of the Heisei era. Is that concurrent with Spacegodzilla? Is it before? Is it after? I have no idea. So the thing with Mothra was weird. There's this subplot about how they want to start... What did they call it? It was like the T program or something. And the idea is we're going to use telepathy, or like Miki specifically, to use telepathy on Godzilla so we can control him and use him as a puppet. Which is a fun idea. Like, I kind of like that idea. It's like, well, instead of building a Mecha Godzilla, let's just use the actual Godzilla. And, two birds with one stone. Now we can fight other monsters and we don't have to worry about him destroying us. And it's the Heisei era. You kind of have to worry about Godzilla destroying you. But there's not a whole lot of time devoted to it. Like, they kind of talk about it for a bit, and then they implement the plan, and then Miki's able to have him, like, walk on the beach, and then that's it. They kind of stop trying to use it. And I mean, they're even like, alright, it seems like the machine had some problems, but they don't really revisit it. The closest we get is a different subplot where Miki gets kidnapped by, like, I don't even remember, some, like, organization. And a dude says something along the lines of, I'm going to copy your telekinetic brainwaves and copy them into my computer so I can control Godzilla. And in a sense, sure, that's continuing that plot line, but it just feels like now we're doing something completely different and almost like we're in a different movie. And it doesn't last super long, but just long enough for me to be like, what are we doing and why? Why are there so many, like, weird little plot points? Like, Mechagodzilla got destroyed or, like, badly damaged in the last film. So now it's been repurposed into Mulgera, which is a giant robot mech. And I just don't like its design. There's something about its weird praying mantis face with a drill, which should be cool. Like, saying it out loud, this thing sounds awesome. But when I was looking at it, like, I think you just look silly. I don't think I care. I'm trying to think, is there anything I want to talk about before I get into Spacegodzilla? Into, like, its origin, and its design, and its fight? I guess I think Yuki was his name. He was this dude that really wants to kill Godzilla and is kind of obsessed with killing Godzilla. I believe they said he's related to Gondo. I think he was in Biollante. I might be misremembering that he was in Return of Godzilla, but I think he was in Biollante. And I remember, like, I do remember this guy. Like, he was really cool. And then he, like, shoots Godzilla in the mouth. It's like, yeah, remember to take your medicine, asshole. And then Godzilla kills him. But, like, he went out basically giving Godzilla the finger, and it was really cool. I think they were, because I think the woman who had revealed that said that he was her brother, but I think Yuki was really close to him, and this is why Yuki has that obsession, and it's fine. Like, there's definitely a motivation there, and it is one of the more, like, consistent recurring elements of the film. It's good on paper. For whatever reason, it just wasn't, like, gripping me and keeping my attention. And I think part of it is... So I do remember there was something else I wanted to talk about before getting into Space Goji. It's the way Godzilla's portrayed in this movie. I like Showa Godzilla a lot. Showa Godzilla, depending on the film, is either just an absolute menace, and that's just generally in, like, the first two movies. Sorry. Let me try to get my thoughts in order. Showa Godzilla was initially just kind of a menace. Then, Showa Godzilla became a superhero figure. It's, here is a monster, here is a bigger and badder threat, And he is here to fight back and, like, defend Japan, defend the Earth, go into space and defend the Zillions, and that was a whole thing. I love Astro Monster. It's one of my favorites. As I've said, it's like, here's my favorite Godzilla movies, and then the tier right below is like, here's all the Ghidorah movies, and they all rule. And I like that depiction of Godzilla. And I think Three-Headed Monster and Hedorah in particular are my favorite depiction, because I feel like Three-Headed Monster is where Godzilla gets his character development. Hedorah is where he's trying to use his character development and, like, give Hedorah that same opportunity, and it doesn't work. Heisei Godzilla is just a menace. There are a lot of moments, like, there's usually one per film that will humanize him. Like, it lets him show fear, it lets him show pain, and a deleted scene lets him show regret. But he is consistently the aggressor. And it's not like, oh, cool, Godzilla's here to save us from this monster. It's always, well, if Godzilla beats it, how do we deal with him? And that's something I've really liked about these movies. But that's not really the vibe in Spacegodzilla. It's not, well, Godzilla came out of the water and now he's destroying... Throw a dartboard at Japan. He's destroying this part of Japan. We have to do something to stop him. It is specifically, Spacegodzilla's a big monster. We gotta do that. Also, if we can figure out a way to, like... Because yes, there is still the T project. Like, if we can find a way to deal with Godzilla... Sure. But he's never portrayed as the aggressor. And he's never portrayed as this independent looming menace that's just destroying shit. Godzilla is just chilling the entire movie until Space Goji attacks him. Then it's, okay, I gotta go protect my son. And I also gotta go kick your ass. He is an ally through and through, rather than the enemy of my enemy is my friend. At least that's the way it felt portrayed to me. And I generally don't mind that kind of portrayal of Godzilla. I really like Showa Godzilla. I really like Monsterverse Godzilla. Like, this is the protector of the Earth. He can be an asshole. He can cause a lot of collateral damage. He's an aura farmer for sure. But he's like the protector of the planet. And here, he's just a menace. He's just this very territorial animal. But that's not really how he felt here. So now we get to Spacegodzilla. First of all, the name is kind of boring. Like, it's fitting. It's right on the nose. But you just say it out loud, and it's like, look, it's a Godzilla movie. It's gonna be silly to some degree. But it just sounds so silly. It's like, I can't take it seriously. Its design, I really like his teeth. Like, he looks very menacing. Like, I really like his face. I think the giant crystals, I like them, but they are a bit much. I think Clay described it as, this looks like Godzilla Mega Evolved. And as someone who likes Mega Evolution, and is also like, some of these designs are kind of stupid, but I like them. Yeah, it definitely looks like Godzilla Mega Evolved, like, for better and for worse. He's also kind of a transformer, and then he'll just, like, fly, and I liked that. I thought that was silly as hell, but it was fun. Spacegodzilla feels like Heisei Godzilla. Like, this is an aggressive menace. This is a territorial animal. Except he's a bit more malicious and malevolent. And I like the monster. I think the fight's pretty damn boring. Both times. It's like, there can be some funny moments. Again, when Godzilla's like, yo, kiddo, get off of me. Like, that was great. But for the most part, it felt just more like beams and blasting, which I don't hate, but it's not as fun as like, all right, well, let me pick up Ghidorah and boom, 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 or Ghidorah, like, you know, bouncing on him and throwing each other into building. I think there is a point where he drops a building on him, and, like, I do appreciate that. But, like, I think about what happened in the Mothra Batra movie, which, that was my least favorite of the Heisei era, and I still liked it, where he, like, grabbed the Yokohama Ferris wheel and use it like a steel chair, and then, like, they both pick him up, and Godzilla just starts, you know, being violent on Batra. Like, this is sick. And this fight's kind of boring. It's not that cool. Dude, I can barely stay awake during the monster fight. No, this is all wrong. But Godzilla, I don't know if you can hear my grandniece is over, and bless her heart. Like, I adore her. She's great, but she can be a lot. She's like 2. But, Spacegodzilla's origin is just kind of described in, like, a couple throwaway lines, like, oh yeah, this is what he is. And it's like, well, like, we studied his DNA, and, like, we found G cells, so what must have happened is either Biollante or Mothra. And, like, is Mothra comprised of G cells? I thought G cells was a specifically Godzilla thing, and, like, that makes sense with Biollante, because she was specifically a combination of a plant, Godzilla's DNA, and, like, a human soul. Sounds like insane when you say it, but it makes sense, like, in the movie. I'm like, this is actually really working, and it also works in the terms, like, what Godzilla is. I think my favorite depictions of Godzilla are when I can, like, I can very clearly tell what he or the other monster is supposed to represent. Godzilla represents nuclear activity and nuclear weapons. Hedorah is all about pollution. You've got Shin Godzilla, which was about the, I don't remember what year it was, but it was like that nuclear meltdown. Like, I remember hearing about that, and, like, it's very fitting for how that movie worked. It's why Shin Godzilla is one of my favorites. As much as I say, like, I really like the Heisei era character, and there's a lot I like about the Showa era character, I think Shin Godzilla is my favorite depiction of Godzilla. And then I look at something like -1, where Godzilla is a specific representation of Koichi's mental state. Like, it's a literal creature, but it's like, this is the representation of his guilt and his desire to be punished. And that's really cool and really interesting. And here, and like with Biollante, this is like a Frankenstein sort of situation where it is representing humans interfering too much with nature. It is humans trying to play God, and here are the consequences. With Spacegodzilla, it's, man, we really need to stop polluting space. Do we do that? I mean, we probably do. I don't know, but it's... I don't know. This one to me feels a bit more kind of out there. And the idea is, so Biollante or Mothra released G cells that made it into space. Went inside a black hole. I don't know how, why, or when, but went into a black hole, found a crystal, latched onto the crystal, and then came out a white hole, and that's what Spacegodzilla is. Sure! Sorry for that pause in the middle. My niece just came into the room. Like, I know I've done a video before where, like, she walked in, is like, I will keep going a little bit and talk to her, but I don't want to put her just in a video, like, privacy stuff. I don't think I should. But I'm kind of close to wrapping up anyways. My point is...
This is so funny!
Sorry, as I was explaining the pause, she ran into my room again. But as I was trying to say, I think I'm more or less done with the video. Essentially, I'm not crazy about the movie. I think the monster's backstory it's weird. It should be fun, but I think for me, it was like, okay, I know this is Godzilla, and like a couple movies ago, we had Mecha King Ghidorah, and I thought it was amazing. This to me is just a bit too far. It's a bit too silly. I think the monster is fun. The design is a bit on the silly side, but it's still kind of fun. But I think the fight is boring. I think the human plot is fine, not the best. It feels like the kind of stuff I've seen before. I think the metaphor is there, like the pro-environmentalist message is there, but I don't think it's as compelling as it is in some other films. And I think there was maybe a couple other points I had to say, but I've forgotten them. That's Space Godzilla.